Thank you very much, Lady K. And first of all, I have to thank Professor Femi Boyede. He's been a very long-time friend of mine, and he's been part of the struggle. Lady K, I will say thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to share my experience and see what I can do in terms of knowledge sharing to my fellow Nigerians. I'm very, very happy to be here.
Thank you.
And October actually happened to be January of agricultural calendar. You know, like January, every year we celebrate New Year. October happened to be our January. And based on that, most of our activities we have on ground right now has to be in line with the global practices. I have a speech here I'm going to give to you. It's about 7 pages, but I'm going to try and move as fast as possible to cover it up. Then before we go into the presentation, Mr. Boyede, Prof, I send a copy of it to you. And,
yes, I do have it.
You can share it anyway. And if anybody needs a copy, please do give them one. Give them one. Let me start from the beginning. It's a speech made by Captain John Okakpu for the Talking Trade and Investment Global webinar on Saturday, 8th of October 2022. The theme is rebuilding a new economic future for Nigeria Agro-Exports to the rescue. The importance and the efficacy of agro-export activities to quickly turn around the economic fortune of this great country and the world cannot be overemphasized. This is because people will always eat and countries mostly do not or are unable to produce enough for their population. Hence, the volume of exportation of food around the world is humongous. Besides, the exported agricultural commodities are exchanged for dollars, which is very scarce now in Nigeria and mainly responsible for the badly degenerating nature of our economy. Thus, there is dire need for Nigerians to massively engage in agro-export to improve our economy and escalate economic growth. Netherlands, with a population of about 17.2 million people, is earning over $112 billion of agricultural export yearly, while Nigeria, with over 200 million people, can do 10 times of that income. Netherlands does not have good weather and soil, with only land mass of about 42,000 square kilometers. That is a nation below sea level. On the other hand, Nigeria has about 923,000 square kilometers of total land mass and endowed with good weather and good soil. What are we doing with it? Practically nothing. Now, African Continental Free Trade Agreement intends to change the narratives. It has created the world's largest free trade area, representing the 1.2 billion consumer market, and mandate states to remove tariffs, non-tariff, in order to increase shipments and service between nations that will boost economic growth in so doing. As it is now, we will continue to export our product to the world market through other countries. I'm talking about Nigeria. And definitely, it will get worse under African Continental Free Trade. For every 1 naira we are going to make, those countries, our product and transiting will make like 10 naira in every 1 naira we make. There's no shortcut here or lobbying. It's a grassroots. Those grassroots are the farmers with certification and traceability of their farms and product. Unfortunately, Nigerian farmers and those in the agricultural value chain do not possess the requisite international accepted certificates and traceability to meet the requirements of the exporting countries. that will qualify them to engage in African continental free trade. This is coupled with the high logistic and regulatory costs and astronomically interest rates on loan. Those issues need to be readdressed for Nigeria to actively participate and benefit from African continental free trade. If you look at the trend, Africa exports agricultural produce such as raw tomato, onions, vegetable, cocoa, coffee, cotton, yam, tobacco, and the rest of them to the world to earn significant foreign exchange. But the continent imports important foods such as cereal, vegetable oil, dairy products, and meat in large quantity. Why do we have to keep importing things that we can ordinarily be exporting? That's what this area is trying to clear up. This is worse in Nigeria due to our shortcomings as regard to agro-exports. Our neighboring countries have positioned themselves to benefit from African continental free trade by building robust value-added and logistic cost-effective export system. Now you look at all the farmers we have in Nigeria today, they are not positioned to sell any of their product to the world market. I'm going to come to that during the presentation, whereby most of our products go through either Mexico, go through Ghana, go through India. It's a very shameful situation. So looking at it critically, our logistic cost inadequately value-added system, lack of requisite certifications and traceability cemented our losses on African continental free trade. I spoke several times last year and early this year about the cost of logistics into in our export business. One of the area that's really that need to be something needs to be done is the debt of the air freight. Government taxes, government fees, and coupled with regulatory agencies and choked up system at the port. I brought in 100-ton aircraft out of Ghana. I spent $3,800 to pay in fees and taxes just on the flight to Europe. The same 100-ton, we brought it to Lagos. After calculation, we are spending about $35,000. Where do we go from there? So these are part of the areas we are looking critically and we are working very seriously to overcome. Let me go to the certificates and traceability. Unfortunately, there's a growing awareness and insistence on ensuring the traceability and international accepted certification of agro-produce to be received by most countries these days. Nigerian farmers, aggregators, and exporters have been unable to meet up with such standards. You want to sell your products, you want to sell your market to the world market. You have no standards, you have no certification, nobody can trace you when anything goes wrong. This inability has led to the most embarrassing rejections and sometimes destruction of our agro commodities in foreign markets. That is well known. To make matters worse, in some quarters in Nigeria, some people believe that lobbying and negotiation or bilateral agreements is an express way to export an agricultural commodities to the export destination countries. This belief in some quarters that once a country has a trade and bilateral agreement with another, it guarantees free flow of agro products. Yes, such agreements open the doors to free trade between countries for mutual benefits, but there is a caveat. That's a question that needs to be taken care of. That's an issue that needs to be taken care of here, that will ensure that advanced countries will only accept quality agricultural products. When we're talking about quality, we're talking about quality of products that can be traceable with international recognized good agricultural practice. A responsible country wouldn't, because of trade agreement, allow poison or substandard products into their country to kill its citizens. Nigeria has entered into several trade agreements, but our goods are still being rejected by the same countries we have bilateral trade agreement with. Why? Because our agricultural products are not certified and traceable. Similarly, source certification and traceability are not established from nothing or by the government. The main agricultural producers have over the years experienced the real reason for rejections of their products and taking steps to correct such issues by having international acceptable and recognized GAP certifications that will now establish national standards to be adhered to. Some time ago, some Nigerian officials went to Ghana to go and see what they are doing right in order for us Nigerians to copy. And when you go to Ghana, go to other places to study, you have to come back and do exactly what they did. But in Nigeria, that's not the case. In view of the above, the Honorable Minister of Trade, Honorable Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investments, and the instance of the President established Nigerian Agro-Exports Setup Committee in July of 2020 to, amongst other things, standardize, mobilize, and improve agro-export activities in Nigeria with active collaboration with the ministries, departments, and agencies, the military, and top players in agro-export subsector. The committee immediately swung into action by identifying reasons for the agro rejections and the provision of sustainable and holistic solution to mitigate what the reasons and the problem. Hence, the 4-point agenda was established. 4-point agenda was established as a lasting remedy for agro-export rejections of our agro-commodities in foreign markets. The 4-point agenda as given: 1, global gap certification and traceability. The lack of international and reliable global gap certification standard has made it mostly impossible for Nigeria to carry out unhindered and safe agricultural export activities as a result of widespread lack of global gap certification among farmers and agro-export operators in Nigeria. Consequently, we will start with the global gap training of 1,000 youths, women, and farmers in all 774 local governments in Nigeria. This is captured in component 2 of our project appraisal report that I will share with you later. Global gap traceability training and certification of all farmers and those in agricultural value chain in Nigeria. Then we're looking at the QR code card registration for all farmers and those in agricultural value chain. The QR code is part of the traceability program. Concurrently, while continuing with the training program, we will effect the registration of all the trainee youths, women, and farmers in the QR codes that will contain their particulars, GPS farm location, cross-planted and sold, and so on. This card, the QR code card, beside being able to trace a farmer, off-takers can be used to locate the farmers and vice versa. It can also aid the banking and credit facility of the same farmer. Tech platform. This is where the fun starts. Use of technology platform in all agro-export activities in Nigeria to simplify the process, making the one-stop state of the process and drastically reduce the process time for agro-export. It's a one-stop shopping program that must have to be in place. Today in Ghana, when you want to export any product out of Ghana or maybe Kenya and some of these countries, you go to the system, you pick out what you have to do, and after you enter a lot of what you're looking for, with the push of a button, you are in business. It's not so here in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, when you try it here in Nigeria, you won't even know where to start from. We have more than 17 agencies, every single one of them claiming constitutional rights, claiming jurisdictional rights of what you are about to do. Now, the tech platform is a user interface for major participants in value chain with roles and responsibility. 1, the farmer, aggregators, transporters, regulators, just like CBN, Federal Ministry of Trade and Industry, like the CED and MPIS, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, FMAD, that's under Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service, Veterinary and others, Customs, NDLA, NAFDAC, Ports Authority, and so on. Industries peer like you and I, and the committee set up by the government, the off-takers, banks, and lenders. Access point integration with the system of the various regulators and participants and facilitators. Functionality for smart information dissemination and alerts for users' transaction. Integration with payment platform for finance-related transaction. Access point for global gap certification-related activities. Single point process dashboard for agro-export from documentation to ship out. Ease of onboarding for new users utilizing relevant smart devices. A reporting functions for data analytics. Material tracking. APU, agro-processing units. Agro-processing units, building agricultural process units to increase the gain of standards and value added in exports. African Development Bank, we are looking forward for them to support this program. We have an existing program with them coming up under SAPZ program, under SAPZ. And the Federal Minister of Agriculture, they're trying to unlock the system right now. October, this month, they're going to launch SAPZ program in Nigeria. They're starting off with about 8 locations. We have from south, you have Cross River, you have southeast, you have Imo State, southwest, you have Oyo State and Ogun State, north central, you have Kwara State and Abuja, northwest, you have Kano and Kaduna. So these are the part of the area they're starting under the SAPZ program. Unfortunately, there is none for South Northeast for now, and this is just stage 1. The second stage of it is coming, but for a state to participate in any of the stages, you have to be able to have expression of interest. The facility is there, the funds are there, and the funds have already been backed up and guaranteed by the federal government as per the information reaching us. Now, African Development Bank and enable private sector through the Nigerian Agro-Exports Setup Committee. We are working to synergize and benefit with the benefits of the state government to build agricultural processing units and agro transformation center to process raw agricultural produce to value added, safe, certified, well-packaged products. In these APUs, research and development will continually be carried out for the improvement of products, packaging, and other necessary requirements. Now, let me come to this area. A lot of people believe that packaging is our problem. Packaging is not our problem. You can't package poison and send to somebody. Our problem is the farmers. We have to get our farmers in order. We have to train our farmers to produce the right goods. Packaging can be done and will be done at the processing units. Now, the National Interpretation Guideline. What is National Interpretation Guideline? The National Interpretation Guideline is a document which provides a guidance on the implementation and auditing of compliance of a country's interpretation of global gap, the compliance criteria, and compliance criteria are based on which the country interpretation is developed. The global gap control points are fixed and are not to be changed. The National Interpretation Guideline is more like a Bible. It's where we're going to have the do's and the don'ts. What do you have to do and what you don't have to do? So the country interpretation in the NIG document is always conjunction with the global gap, CPCC, and cannot stand alone. The country system, in terms of our policies, in terms of our regulatory system, has to be incorporated in the National Interpretation Guideline for it to be a working document. Where there is no country-specific addition to the CC, which serves for better understanding and implementation, the original CC are valid and should not be repeated in the country interpretation column. We are looking forward to resolve the problem of beans in Nigeria. That is the good news I told Mr. Femi. We've worked very hard over the months, and now we're about to unlock whatever we have been doing. We are looking forward to resolve the problem of beans and work with relevant MDAs to lift the ban in different markets around the world. Hopefully, we will get all the necessary support and cooperation with the relevant ministries and agencies to make this happen. The issue of beans, I believe, in the next 1 month will be a thing of the past, because we have already processed what the international market need and the reason why the beans was banned in Nigeria. The ban of the exportation of beans from Nigeria has been very thorny and frustrating issue that has persisted for years now, making it difficult for the nation to show up its foreign exchange earning. Dear Nigerians, again, we are looking forward to put an end to the nightmare within the next 1 month. As long as the agencies and the government officials cooperate with us, the issue of beans will be history. We are looking forward to follow up with that of dry fish too, that the process is already in place. In conclusion, before I go to my presentation, once the aforementioned 4 points agenda are implemented, our economy will rapidly improve, and our agro-export inflow alone will far exceed that of crude oil. We estimated that agro-export inflow alone will be about $250 billion by the year 2040. So we're going to go over to the presentation, then I can take some of the points that I didn't mention in terms of what I just said in the speech here. So I'm looking forward to Femi to share the screen, please, so that we can go from one point to the other. It's a presentation made by Capt John for the rebuilding a new economic future for Nigeria, and agro-export to the rescue, certification and traceability. Can you go to the next one, please? Today, we have about 15 cargo airports in Nigeria today. And what they all have in mind, it has to do with agricultural export. And as I speak to you, not even 1 single kilo goes out of those airports. We intend to make these airports functional. And for that to happen, we have to need the collaboration of the government. Okay. The government, they will have to make the good policy for us to make use of those airports. Some of these airports are not politicians. Building of airports has become the intent. Everybody's building cargo airports, and most of them now are determined to be agro-export. We intend to put these airports into practical use. Okay, but for that to happen, we need the collaboration of the government. Next, please. From the program we have in place from the committees set up by the government, we intend to effort about 240 million tons of agro-export by the year 2040. How possible is this? We're looking about the production capacity in different states in Nigeria. Niger State and Kebbi, they have a lot of wetlands, and I believe these 2 states alone can even surpass our projection, but we try to hold on to a very conservative figure in terms of what our set goal is. Next, please. For this, what we are doing for it to be possible in our program in Nigeria, the government have to build a bridge for us to cross. I've, over the years, trying to get some few things done right, and over the years, I ran into a lot of stumbling blocks. Most government agencies and ministry, they believe that they are the one that will control, they are the one that will drive most of the program. And I keep telling most of them when I get up such an attitude that agricultural export is 100% private sector. The government creates the enable environment, the private sector drives it. But I've been in a situation whereby I was even ordered that one of the office in the ministry have to be where everything has to be driven. If I don't like it, I should go to hell. And it was very painful, but it took me at least 6 months to overcome that area. Then if you look at the next slide, it's something I discussed earlier about the issue we're having out of logistics. 100 tons of cargo out of Ghana, we pay about $4,000 out of Nigeria, $35,000. With this alone, our products cannot be affordable in the world market, that's for sure. Next, please. I was in London not too long ago. 2 kg of pineapple from Costa Rica. Costa Rica is 12 hours from London, and they're selling for about 95p to £1.10 in most supermarkets. 2 kg of pineapple, logistic cost alone from Nigeria to UK is £1.7. How do you sell your pineapple? It's impossible. We have certification right now to airlift pineapple to UK, and we can do that. Every night, Kenya do about 620 tons. In Nigeria, we can boast of 20 tons a week. This is over $250 billion worth of economy wasting away. Next, please. We're talking about the global gap certification, which I said I talked on my speech. We need this for us to be able to move Nigeria forward. If you can't trace your product, nobody's willing to touch it. McDonald's, Burger King, they are not in Nigeria today because if they come in here, anything you supply them, you can't trace it. And that's one of the reasons why they are not here. This is part of the training program. This is a training actually in Sokoto. We'll do it some global gap awareness. We believe that in the next 2 years, at least we can be able to train about 3,000-4,000 farmers to be able to meet up to global gap certification and traceability. Once that training is done, we have off-takers that can off-take our product. Most of the aircraft that flies into Nigeria can go back with something, okay? And also 2 aircraft that are coming from neighboring countries can come to Nigeria and uplift their products, okay? Next, please. Over 60% of the land in communities in Europe, European Union, and United Kingdom have been destroyed by wildfire. We can feed Europe, we can feed the world. Why are we suffering? Look at what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. I don't have to tell you that much about it. Please, can you go to the next slide? The QR code cards I explained earlier on the 4-point agenda. This is one of the tools that we need to be able to move agricultural export in Nigeria. We need to be able to trace people that are selling things to you. If you can't trace them, you're going nowhere. Then the global gap traceability is still there. The next, please. The use of technology platform, which I explained earlier on my speech. Next, please. And the APUs that will be able to process whatever we are shipping out of Nigeria. In this APU, we're going to have both NAFDAC, you're going to have all the agencies, you have customs, all the required agencies and organizations will be there, the lab to test the equipment, the product that we're exporting. And most of this APU will be just within a few minutes away from exit point like the airport and the seaport. Okay, so we are looking forward to put this APU and at least in all the whole capital states in Nigeria and possible local governments. On the APUs, we're going to have value-added programs on it in terms of juice, wine, and other things, okay? Next, please. Especially meats and poultry. When you bring in McDonald's to Nigeria, you have to be able to process the meats and the patties they need for their hamburgers. Next, please. Okay, this is about ABX World. Then you can go to the next, please. It's about ABX World. You can go to the next, please. Next, please. Okay, on the global gap training and certification, please, you need to, this is where every one of us have to get together and work at one. Kenya today has about 3,000 certifications to be able to sell to the world market. Ghana has about 2,000, South Africa. Cameroon, Nigeria is 0. We need to be able to set up and start training our farmers to certify them to do what others are doing. There's no shortcut. Everybody wants to sell their product to the world market. And at the end of it, nobody accepts it. We have a lot of onions today living somewhere in Kebbi and Sokoto. They go to Ghana, they go to Senegal and other places. What is the reason? We don't have what it takes to sell our product to the world market, and that have to change very soon. Next, please. It's time to correct all this anomaly if we are ready as people to join the global market. Thank you very much.